We are back with Impact TEW 2020. I'm just gonna get right into the news. We don't have a ton of it, but we do have end of the month news. We are starting in September. We just finished up August, so like I said, not a ton of news, but some relatively good news, I guess. For the numbers, BTI, as always, TV rating, overall rating is a 32, up from a 29. Uh, Impact TV rating was a 0.33, up from a 0.31 last week. Overall rating was a 45, up from 44, and in attendance, 322, up from 318. So that star I put, that 0.33 Impact TV rating is our record high for TV so far. So not huge jumps. Like we only have a 1 point increase of an overall rating, but our TV is the highest it's ever been. We've had a couple of 0.32 shows. This is our first 0.33. Hopefully we can just keep going higher. But with news I'll get into later, I don't know if that'll be possible, at least in the short term. Um, yeah, we'll just get into it since we got a month changeover. For Impact News, our total profit made for August was $94,684. So still making money. Um, 94,000, good number. Not quite our highest profit monthly, but close. Unfortunately, we finished fifth out of six in our Southeast Regional battle. It used to be out of five, but now since AEW joined, or they fell to small size last week, they are now in our regional battle. I think I mentioned the possibility of that last week happening. I was kind of worried, and it's happening. So, the good news, if there are any, is that they are like still on the edge of medium. They could, I think they're just like 1 or 2 points away from, um, at least in the Southeast region. If they gain a couple of points back, they'll probably go back to medium and hopefully get out of the be too big for the regional battle. Um, I don't know about NXT, but I know us and NWA and MLW and probably Shine. I don't know about them for sure, but we are quite a ways away from hitting that next step. The number of fans we would have to gain in the Southeast still is a barrier. Um, Quite a big barrier for us to hit medium, but for like I said, for AEW, it's just like a point away. So like I said, AEW is a 66, NXT is a 61, NWA is a 54, MLW is a 48, Impact's a 47, Shine is a 42. So, yep, we're second to last. Luckily, that's only a 5% cut in attendance instead of a 10. Um, but yeah, AEW dropping kind of hurts us. Um, and something AEW related will pop up in the news later. I don't know if it'll affect us, but something to keep in mind as I go on. Carl Anderson. This is a month of or a week of contract negotiation. So we had one open for Carl Anderson. Luckily, he extended it. It was just a handshake deal, just pretty much a renewal of his previous deal. Mercedes Martinez requested a pay raise, which we gave to her, but then I thought we should really have her on a written deal. Um, she's still on a written deal with AEW, so but the long and short of it is that I extended to her a written deal and she has accepted it. So she is under written deals for us and AEW. I don't know which would take precedence. I know Mercedes, her AEW bookings sometimes interfere at least with our pay-per-view shows. I think she is unavailable for Victory Road, but she might be available For Bound for Glory, I would have to look again. At one point, I think she was unavailable. After this written deal, I think she might be, but yeah. So I didn't want to go full on and do like an exclusive written deal because I don't think we're probably big enough to warrant that anyways. And we don't really have anyone on exclusive deals. So it wouldn't really be fair, but it would just be good to have Mercedes on our roster, kind of a little bit more locked in than she is now. And then also, Rosemary and Chris Bay have also requested pay raises. Both were granted. Both regulars on our shows, so figured that was worth it. Rosemary, a champion, so definitely deserving of raises, especially how little we pay some of these people. These how little their salaries are set. Speaking of, we did offer contract extensions to Jake Something and Falaba. They entered the uh, final month of their contract, so we just extended the contract. Speaking of people who are paid less than they probably deserve, I think Jake Something is only making like $20 a show, which is pretty shameful, especially considering we're trying to push him to at least the like upper mid card, if not possible world contender level. So yeah, I think we bumped him up to like 100 something. So but yeah, and I think a lot of that is also dependent on their outside bookings, which considering we don't have anybody on exclusive deals and we encourage people to work elsewhere, them making their names some elsewhere will bump up their salary, and in the case of Jake Something, definitely deserving of being making more. And then also note I put in here: the Authors of Pain once again defeated Eric Young and Damian O'Connor in the main event of a show in Miami. And then in that same show, the Forgotten Sons reunite without Jaxson, whatever that fucker's name is. I forgot. Jaxson Doodler. Steve Macklin and Wesley Blake defeating Heath and Rhino. I don't know. I'm debating if I want to bring in Wesley Blake in to team with Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin's doing kind of all right, where he is now. I don't have any big plans for him, but him kind of after booking him as a joke in that X Division program and him kind of being like a uh, I don't know how you put it, just like a dick in general on Maria's crew. Kind of a good spot for him. Uh, like I said, we could bring in Wesley Blake, have them team back up again if they have good chemistry, but I don't know. That's for pretty far down on my priorities list right now. American news. WWE had SummerSlam. There was really nothing of note for SummerSlam that happened except Queen Zelina and Carmella winning back the women's tag team titles at SummerSlam, defeating Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, who took the belts from them like a pay per view or two ago, and Fire and Desire, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, their second reign with the titles. Paul Heyman, John Laurinaitis, Duke Hudson, and Oliver Carter extended their exclusive deals. Andrade El Idolo has officially left AEW and AAA for WWE. Andrade signing a deal with WWE, but I guess he had like a month grace period, if you will, on his other deals. So he was appearing on AEW and AAA shows, but not wrestling, which was kind of weird. And then referee Jason Ayers has left WWE. For AEW, the news I was talking about earlier, they have also joined into an alliance with the NWA. So not only are AEW number one in the Southeast region, they're also in alliance with the number three. Yeah, because it's if you discount AEW and NXT, it goes NWA, MLW, us. Um, so yeah, that kind of sucks. Like I said, I hope AEW is able to get those their numbers bump back up so they can get back to medium and then be bumped out of the regional battle. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. I know Cody Rhodes is NWA champion right now. Um, I've debated like starting an alliance, but I just think it's too early in the game. And I don't really know who to join an alliance with. I've toyed with the idea of like having like joining an alliance with AIW and them kind of having like them be like our quote unquote developmental, even though we don't really have one. But AIW is doing pretty good for themselves. They like we'll see with GCW, but they've kind of dropped off. Their AIW is now pretty much like the number one independent company in my game. So I kind of want to leave them alone and see where they go. They've been signing a lot of big names lately. But we'll continue. With AEW, Britt Baker has extended her handshake deal. And then GCW, like I mentioned, they lowered their production values to amateur, product quality to semi-pro, and live event experience to volunteer. So, like as far as like American independence goes, it pretty much goes AIW, GCW, and then a bunch of other ones. So sometime like when I get to a good breaking period, which I think will probably be Bound for Glory, I'll probably go through the entire game and just say like show like how the world is now. It's pretty interesting, kind of, the kind of stuff I play the game for is just to see how different things are than from real life. And then Shimmer have hired Bianca Belair to a handshake deal. So Shimmer bumping up their ranks. Japan news. New Japan, Yuji Nagata extended his exclusive deal, and then Kino, formerly of Noah, signs an exclusive deal with New Japan. Big Japan have hired Kento Miyahara, the current All Japan Triple Crown champion, to a handshake deal. Noah, the GHC tag team champions, or tag team champion and current 0-1 heavyweight champion Masa Kitamura suffered a broken collarbone at the departure show in a successful title defense with Daiki Inaba against Dan Tamura and Katsuhiko Nakajima, will only be out for a month. But in other injury news, Dragon Gate Shun Watanabe, aka Shun Skywalker, who's kind of, I wouldn't say blowing up currently in real life, but is on, has gone on American excursions and has done pretty well for himself. Suffered a complete RCL tear and will be out for 6 months, so that really sucks for him. He basically spending the last half of 2022 injured in our game. And then Joshi news for Stardom, Natsupoi extended her handshake deal. Ice Ribbon, Kairi Hojo, and Hiroyo Matsumoto formed a team called Hellbound. And then at Tokyo Joshi Pro, Chi, wow, sorry, Chihiro Hashimoto defeated Miyu Yamashita to win the Princess title. I also can't type. That's not Princess. It's Princess of Princess title. Probably Princess of Princesses title. I really screwed that up there, but that's her first reign with that title. Um, and then retirements and also life events that I put in here. Announced retirements: Kaz Hayashi, Bushwhacker Luke, Marty Jannetty. Um, I'm gonna leave that alone. I was gonna say something, but I'm not gonna anymore. Rip Rogers, Just Incredible, Paul Roma, and Summer Rae officially retired. Paul White. He's still employed at AEW as a color commentator slash road agent. Bobby Fulton, Rob Conway, The Warlord, Katarina Waters, Dan Moff, Hizakatsu Oya, C.W. Anderson, Ian Rotten, Lexi Fife, Shaggy Two Dope, Sarah Stock. Um, she will be available as a road agent slash manager, and I am very interested at bringing her in as a female road agent, kind of how AEW just did in real life. But Sarah Stock, the former Sarita for Impact, um, would likely be a good road agent for us. So um, that might happen in the near future. Rob Van Dam, officially retiring. Mr. Ganosuke Kendo Kishin finally retiring so he can stop getting those title matches. Larry Zbyszko, Shark Boy, manager only. That was a case where, if you remember, we brought in Shark Boy, actually had him win the X Division title for a little bit. Um, but then we let him go. He announced his retirement, and we were kind of hoping that if he was still available as a road agent, we could bring him back. But not. He's only as a manager only. So kind of like in the case of Taylor Wilde, someone that we could bring back as an on-screen manager for somebody. I don't know how that would work since Shark Boy can't. Well, I would say can't really talk, but if we just gave him the Stone Cold gimmick again, he could do that. But yeah, someone we could bring back, but I would prefer to bring them back as road agents to make our current roster better and improve. So Cassandro, onward the list. Cassandro, Mensteo, the Sandman. Um, the Sandman, I was actually trying to bring in the incorporate somehow in the current Brian Myers versus Joe Hendry and CPA feud as another ECW name for Brian Myers to go over. But I just couldn't fit him in, so that kind of sucks. Vito Lagrasso, Johnny Devine, Apollo, Anarchia, Kevin Furtig, Becky Bayless, Randy the Ram Robinson, and Scott Vick. Entered in the Hall of Immortals, Scott Steiner, Negro Casas, El Hijo del Santo, and Ricky Choshu. And then for divorces, Big Con and Chrissy Vane have divorced, and then also April Hunter and JD Maverick. So divorces, again, this game hates love. I see way more divorces than um, people hooking up. And the people who do hook up, I don't know who they are. And if people do get into relationships, they're usually with people outside the wrestling business. So the story is if you're both wrestlers and you get married, you will get divorced. And that is a proven fact thanks to TEW. Um, so let's just go into Before the Impact. We get the debut of Alex Zane. Alex Zane defeating Commander. Um, with a 33 match. I think that rating's partially due to and a lot of this higher ratings, I guess. I don't think I used our normal BTI road agents of Eric Stevens and Nikki Rocks for the show, so the ratings are a little bit higher. But Alex Zane debuting as a member of Swingers Palace. So Zicky Dice is at ringside, cheering him on. Alex Zane defeated Commander, and then they celebrate after the match. Um, we get, I don't know if I did this as a promo or an interview, but basically the intent was to interview Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich about their match last week. About technically, well, no, they lost because uh, Savannah Evans and Janai Kai interfered, so they were disqualified. But basically, Masha Slamovich gets mad at Killer Kelly for no reason and does not want any part of this relationship. And Kelly reminds her that you started following me. You left Diener. Diener tried to, do whatever with you, and that didn't work. So you tried following me, and I really don't care if you follow me or not. And they basically devolve into a brawl. Basically because since they had zero chemistry as a team, I can't use them as a team. So we have to figure out what to do with them. And then we get originally a promo by Falaba, Raj Singh, and Shera, interrupted by Willie Mack, who we have not seen in at least a couple of weeks. Attempting to attack them, but the numbers game and the size game is just too strong, and Falaba Singh and Shera beat down Willie Mack quite handily. No Willie Mack not really having anyone to save him or help him out. And then in the main event, we get Zhao Zia retaining the digital media title against Mad Dog Diener. Um, Kind of a rebrand. I kind of imagine Diener as like in a combination of like his old redneck gimmick and his current wannabe Fight Club guy from Violent by Design. So basically intensely violent but also hyper. So I guess that kind of, you know, the combination of those two kind of results in like a mad dog mentality and mad dog behavior. But the martial arts expertise, I think I had this as a like a knockout, so I kind of imagine Zhaozia like basically kicking Diener right in the face and knocking him out and retaining the digital media title. So win for her, another successful title defense. I'm glad I didn't really get penalized. I know in EWR they were really, you would really get people mad about losing to women. That was not a problem here. I'm kind of trying to establish the digital media title as like an intergender belt, kind of implicit, like not explicitly. Um, just basically anyone can contend for it. But yeah, Zhaozia holding it down, another successful title defense, and that ends before the impact with an overall rating of 30. And we will go straight to Impact. We start off Impact not at the Impact Zone, but actually live. Well, live, no. Let's not say live because the show, well, I don't know. Impact shows are taped. We do air these shows live, but regardless, we are broadcasting from the Create a Pro Wrestling School. We see Brian Myers. He's looking like he's fixing up some sort of TV rig, and he yells for Nick Stapp to stop whatever he's doing and come over here. So Nick Stapp basically has been just relegated to unplugging toilets and cleaning stuff with a toothbrush at the Creative Pro Wrestling Academy instead of actually learning how to wrestle better. Stapp actually complains about wanting some ring time, and Myers is like, well, you have to earn the ring time. You have to be good enough to get in the ring and you got to pay your dues. And right now, to pay your dues, you're going to have to make sure this place is spotless and clean. But and he kind of like puts over the fact that you got nowhere else to go, no one will take you in, but me, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm willing to let you continue to have a job and a place in this business at Creative Pro Wrestling. Of course, we remember from last week that Joe Hendry exposed Brian Myers for basically admitting to using Nick Stapp. So Stapp is well aware that Myers is using him, but doesn't really have a choice. He's unemployed, nowhere to go. But Brian Myers says, "Don't worry, I will teach you a lesson tonight. Go ahead, put your plunger and stuff down. Go ahead and sit down from the TV. Impact is about to be on, so Impact's about to start, and you can see firsthand what happens to people who try to get in my way and try to expose me as a fraud. You get to watch footage of a match I was able to make. Like, I'm not at the impact zone, but, VSK and Avery Good are, and they're going to show Joe Hendry what happens to anyone who tries to expose me. And that's how we start off Impact. The segment rating of 23, storyline losing heat with this. But we start off in the ring with a handicap match: Joe Hendry versus Avery Good and VSK. Hendry getting some good shots in, getting some kind of comebacks in as well. But in the end, the numbers game's too much. 2-on-1. Avery Good ends up submitting Joe Hendry after 10 minutes. Um, VSK seeming off his game. VSK still not happy with us with his botched heel turn, but Joe Hendry doing well, Avery Good doing all right, storyline advancing, segment rating of 34. So basically, Brian Myers forcing um, Joe Hendry to get into a handicap match against Avery Good and VSK and coming up short. So not a good night for Joe Hendry and definitely not a good night for Nick Stapp. And then we get a hype video for Joe Doring, basically a clip package and then like, clips of his promo from last week where he basically admits that he's just going to go back to Japan, that Impact isn't the place for him. He's going to go back to Japan. Fortunately, only gets a 17. I did not originally have this planned, but I needed some segments to fill out the show. Thought, Joe being away from the show, but we can give him video to, keep him in everyone's mind. But I don't think videos do that well because we tend to keep getting not good numbers out of hype videos. And then we get basically LAX coming out for the match, waiting for Colby Corino, who they had challenged last week, and they had challenged to find a partner. Colby still coming out with his neck brace, debatable on if he actually needs it or not, says, he looked around and he was still, he may not be well liked in the Impact locker room, but he was still able to find himself a partner and brings out Hikuleo. Hikuleo, getting in better shape lately. He's now considered as muscular, so Colby Corino bringing out Hikuleo, the giant, if you will, even though we have probably bigger people elsewhere on the roster. But yeah, Colby Corino bringing out Hikuleo as his mystery partner, maybe somewhat of a letdown because that only gets a 19. But for the ensuing match, actually does not do too bad. But basically, this was actually a glorified handicap match because Colby not wanting to get in the ring with Homicide, basically making Hikuleo do his dirty work. Maybe getting a shot in here or there, but eventually Homicide and Hernandez, the well-oiled machine that they are, overwhelm the rookie Hikuleo. Hikuleo goes for a tag. Colby Corino drops off of the apron, so that just basically turns into a glorified handicap match. Homicide defeating Hikuleo in the end. In terms of ring work, Homicide was head and shoulders above everyone else. I had Colby as a limited involvement, so basically being the dick, and yeah. So he had a low performance, but he also was not involved in the match that much, and that was by design. But Hikuleo, the ring performance of 28, but equal to Hernandez. So the big guy is, not doing that well. But I was confused about who, like, even though this was my booking, I wasn't sure who to really book as Colby's mystery partner. It could have really been anybody. Um, I debated bringing in somebody new, um, but uh, giving Hikuleo another chance at the main roster, due to him putting more work in and it showing, hopefully. But yeah, the fact that Homicide and Hernandez are a well-established team probably did a lot of the carrying here, considering Hikuleo is still relatively new and Colby is limited involvement in this match. So LAX getting one over Colby Corino, but it's not like Colby Corino put up much of a fight. Segment rating of 31 for that. We get a promo or an angle backstage. Well, no, this one's actually a promo because we get Jake and Heath and Rhino all pissed off about last week. Jake something having his possible title shot cost by Eric Young and Damien O'Connor. The win going to Lance Archer. So what they propose is a 6-man tag. Jake Something, Heath, and Rhino versus Eric Young, Damien O'Connor, and Lance Archer for next week. Um, so we shall see how that happens, how that plays out next week. Segment ring of 29, storyline losing Heat, but Jake Something getting better at his gimmick. So Jake Something, again, we're trying to push him upwards toward the cards, but losing to Lance Archer, you know, under dubious means, but that's also nothing to scoff at. But with friends like Heath and Rhino that have his back, we're hoping to push him as a well-liked baby face, and hopefully he delivers. In the end, we get a promo from Father Bateman, Brody King, and PCO, the new Gospel of Violence. I have them tagged as GOV2 version 2, if you will. Basically, they lay down the challenge for the Wolves. They attacked them last week, and they basically say if the message isn't clear enough, they will spell it out for them. They want a title match at Victory Road. So, Father Bateman, Brody King, and PCO challenging the Wolves to an Impact title match at Victory Road. We'll see how that does. Segment rating of 35, which is pretty good. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that works out. We can get a backstage segment. Mance Warner preparing for his match coming up next. Announced that he is facing Will Hobbs next, and he runs into Danhausen, his recent buddy, if you will. Still carrying around his X Division title shot briefcase, and Danhausen's like, "Oh, would you like Danhausen's help?" And Mance is like, "No, I'm gonna fight. Will Hobbs is a big son bitch, but I'm gonna fight him. I'm gonna take him down by myself." He's like, "Well, if you need help with Calvin, let me know." And Mance is like, "Wait, who's Calvin?" It's like, "Oh, Hobbs' friend, Calvin, the kid that hangs around him." And Dan's like, or Mance is like, "Whatever," and he's like, "Whatever, just you don't need to be out in the ring, you know." I'm a fighter. I fight and I do things on my own, so you don't need to help me out. So, and Danhausen's like, oh, whatever, suit yourself. And that gets segment rank of 35, which actually does pretty well. But the actual match actually doing pretty good. But in the end, Will Hobbs defeating Mance Warner by pinfall. Um, Following interference from Chris Bay at ringside, not Calvin, but Chris Bay. But the power advantage, if you Will Hobbs having over Mance Warner. The interference was likely more of a distraction than actual interference, but in the end, Will Hobbs defeating Mance Warner. 41 match for that, so 41 segment for that match, so pretty good. Mance having a performance of 42, Will Hobbs 36, so not bad. Mance actually surprising me how well he's doing. Um, in relative to how fresh he is on our roster. After the match, basically it devolves into a 2-on-1 beatdown. Will Hobbs and Chris Bay over Mance Warner, which brings out the X Division champion Swerve Strickland. To save, I wouldn't say Mance and Swerve are friends, but uh, Swerve definitely wanting to get his hands on Hobbs, the heir apparent to the next title shot, and Bay, who's been a thorn in his side for the past couple months. So evening the odds, but Swerve running out, Hobbs and Bay taking a powder. The damage has been done. They got their win, whatever. But Swerve, wanting to at least keep things even, keep things respectable. Segment rating of 33 for that. We get a promo between Jordan Grace and Jonathan Gresham, or an interview rather with Gia Miller. Gia talking about how Gresham defeating Rich Swann by submission last week. Grace attempting to get her hands on Su Yung, but due to Su Young's disappearing act or whatever, was unable to do so. She's like, you gotta feel, disappointed that you haven't been able to really get your hands on Su Young after, losing to her at the last pay-per-view. And Grace is like, you're damn right. So that's why we're here together. And we know Swan, even though Jonathan's defeated Swan last week, he's still been annoying, thorn in our side. So what we're issuing a challenge, intergender tag team match, Jordan Grace and Jonathan Gresham versus Su Young and Rich Swann for Victory Road. The match is now official. So we have an intergender tag match. Segment ring of 26, the storyline Losing Heat. And then we go elsewhere backstage where we are kind of in mid beatdown. Matthew Raywell and Black Taurus of Maria KaneLLC beating down Dalton Castle's boys. Dalton Castle having a match with Michael Bennett, um, which I believe is next. They're beating down the boys, so basically Dalton's going in without any support, if you will. Eventually, the beatdown is interrupted by authority figure D'Lo Brown bringing in security and separating or basically pulling off Matthew Raywell and Black Taurus off of the boys. The boys fairly beaten down and laid out, probably a non-factor in tonight's match. So security pulling them apart. Segment rating of 31, and after that, not sure. Oh, I did this as a interview, but let's just say it's a promo. Let's just say while this is happening, Matt Stryker and Robert Evans confronting D'Lo Brown, just basically yelling him down, saying he has no right to interfere in Maria KaneLLC business, and to expect some sort of I guess legal comeuppance, if you will. Don't know how else to word that, but the legal expertise, quote unquote, big air finger quotes, if you will, of Robert Evans and the intelligence of Matt Stryker, want to make sure that D'Lo Brown is gone from Impact. Well, they don't really explicitly say that, but they feel that D'Lo is, misusing his power of authority to interfere in their business, and they do not want that. Blah 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 blah. Segment rating of 29 for that, and then yep, I believe this is the match. Dalton Castle versus Michael Bennett. Dalton Castle without his boys. Michael Bennett with his husband Maria Kanellis at ringside. So Michael Bennett is able to defeat Dalton Castle with help from his wife. Good match. I thought they had wrestled before here in Impact, but I looked and they had not. So, but I expected them both to deliver, and they have. Segment rating of 51 for the match. Dalton Castle having a 51, Michael Bennett a 46, Maria doing good work at ringside. So a good match. Probably a top 10 contender. But yeah, in the end, Maria KaneLLC throwing their weight around, stomping down the boys. Michael Bennett cheating to get a win over Dalton Castle. Segment rating of 51. We go backstage. Basically, we go back to the Maria KaneLLC locker room where W. Morrissey and Steve Macklin are watching the match. Morrissey is just like sitting in a chair, like head down in his hands, just like sick of, his current situation. Macklin just getting in his face, like, yeah, that's how you do it. You know, I was able to defeat Dalton Castle. Michael Bennett defeated Dalton Castle. You couldn't defeat Dalton Castle last week. You couldn't get the job done. And basically berating him was like, I don't care if you're big and tall and strong. You're just a waste of space. I don't know why Maria wants anything to do with you, we're a group of, high caliber athletes and you're just a big goon and all this stuff. And eventually Morrissey just gets up out of the chair, kicks the chair out from under him, gets in Macklin's face, like, if you want to do something about it, go ahead. And Macklin's like, oh, maybe I will. And Maria, fresh off of, helping her husband in the match, comes into the locker room and gets in between them, shouts them down. Is like, oh, enough of this. No fighting in my locker room between us. You guys know the rules. Uh, but Maria says, you guys want to fight it out? I can make that happen. I can give you guys a match next week on Impact. Morrissey versus Macklin. And Maria turns to Morrissey, and she's like, well, if you know what to do, what's good for you, you know what to do. Kind of highly inferring that he should possibly throw the match, or else uh, be punished further. So Morrissey not in a good spot in the Maria KaneLLC group. Um, just basically kind of their big old punching bag, if you will. So segment rating of 39. Um, Robert Evans helping Macklin in the segment, but I didn't really have him booked. I think it's just a manager thing. But yep, next week on Impact, Morrissey versus Macklin. And then we get a promo from Mercedes Martinez crew, Tasha Steele, Savannah Evans, Janai Kai, basically taunting the Positiva team, Quinn McKay, Rachel Ellering. I have Rachel Ellering here twice. It's supposed to be Roxy and Willow Nightingale. Basically just calling them that they're nice and that they're just pushovers and they're gonna take over Impact and your basic heel promo, just you know running down you know the face team. So just something to keep them uh, on TV. But losing heat for the storyline, segment 22. So not a great promo, but just something to keep them around. We go backstage and we have Tenille Dashwood walking around. Last week, she won the right to face the Knockouts champion at Victory Road. We will find out for sure who will be the Knockouts champion after tonight. But while Tenille is walking, she is confronted by the Inspiration, Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee, and they basically just get right to the point, and they basically just say, Tenille, Chelsea Green and Deanna Praza are using you, right? They know it's like we know how you are. You've been our friend for years. Uh, but our friendship, even though it may not have, stood the test of time, we knew better than to take advantage of you. But that's what they're doing, right? And basically, Tennille doesn't care. She just like, you guys refused to help me become Knockouts champion. You guys were just too self-absorbed in your tag team titles, but Deanna and Chelsea, they're real friends, and they're gonna help me win uh, the Knockouts title at Victory Road. And basically, she laughs them off and walks away, and just the Inspiration just kind of left, um, kind of mourning their friend, just not getting their advice, if you will. So segment rating 41 for that. Storyline gaining heat, which is good. All right, so we have the Falls Count Anywhere match between Rosemary and Viper. Viper wanting another shot at the title. In a Falls Count Anywhere match, like I said. Uh, Coming up short once again. Rosemary getting the win in the end. Um, Pretty decent match. Pretty even match. Rosemary and Viper both having the same performance and resulting in this same 42 segment rating. I debated making this the main event tonight, but I wasn't sure if it would deliver. Um, it's delivered. And it probably will deliver more than what the main event will, but yeah. I have this ending her current storyline. I basically what I've been doing with the title storylines is I've just been keeping the champion in the storyline and then rotating out anyone who's gonna face that champion into the storyline. So I don't know if that's a good idea, but it's been keeping the storylines running for, a fairly, long time. So ending this right away is a fairly early ending. Because I think this particular storyline started with either Viper's debut or Rosemary winning the title. Um, no, because Rosemary winning the title would have ended the last storyline for her. But regardless, um, and I was kind of hoping that would like bump up the numbers for further, but regardless, a decent match, 42. Rosemary definitely going on to Victory Road as champion. Storyline gaining heat. We're ending it. Sorry, my cat is. Yep, knocking over boxes, knocking over water bottles. Nope. But now that we are for sure that Rosemary is definitely the Knockouts champion after retaining her title in that Falls Count Anywhere match, Rosemary is celebrating her title win, or title, her match win with the title, and Tenille Dashwood comes out and is also flanked by Chelsea Green and Deanna Parazzo, and they are fully intending looking like they're about to attack Rosemary. Rosemary having been through a match, so she's quite tired. Falls Count Anywhere match, no less. So taking advantage of her weakened state, if you will. But before they're able to do that, the inspiration of Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay come out. They attack Chelsea and Deanna. Rosemary fights with Tenille, so we basically have a 3-on-3 brawl. Um, Possibly foreshadowing a future match for Impact next week, possibly. So, segment rating of 28, losing heat for that storyline. So, whatever, I'm sure whatever heat we gained with the previous uh, segments, we probably lost with this one for whatever reason. So, and then we get a promo from the Wolves, the um, Impact Tag Team Champions. The Wolves, they've heard that the Gospel of Violence laid down their challenge for Victory Road, and Eddie in particular saying like we've faced you before. We might not have been with PCO at your side, but we've beat you down before. We can do it again, and of course they'll put the titles on the line at Victory Road. The promo is interrupted by the Motor City Machine Guns. They walk in mid promo, like, whoa, whoa, you're just handing out title matches to whoever, and the Wolves are just kind of like, well, you know, we're here for competition or whatever. We don't know what you guys are here for anymore. You know, you did a fake out. You've tried to, or like, you, we thought you were gonna save us from a beatdown last week. You didn't. You didn't save Rep 419 from a beatdown the week or a couple weeks before. So what are you guys doing? What are you guys even here for? Like, you're just gonna run out and say hi, not fight. And Shelly and Saban are both like, you know what? You guys are handing out title shots, but sooner or later it's gonna come back around to us. You know, let's just be honest. You know, we know you're like the record holder most times, Impact champions. But everyone knows who the best team in Impact history is. Sooner or later, we're gonna get our shot again. And unlike you, we're gonna be nice and healthy. We're not getting into stupid matches with, big dumb, big dumb goofs who just like to, hit each other with things. We're true wrestlers. we're at the top of our game and we're going to remain the top of our game. So when eventually the chance comes back to us, we're going to be full enough, we're going to be healthy enough to take it. So they just kind of, back off. They're just like, we set our piece. You guys could do your, uh, violent matches, your, brutal beatdowns, whatever, but, we'll be here to take our shot when, that time comes. So segment rating of 39 for that promo. And then we get our main event, a non-title match. Josh Alexander defeating Madman Fulton. Um, Doing better than I thought it would. Like I said, I kind of wondered if the Falls Count Anywhere match should have main evented because I wondered how this would deliver. Considering it's a non-title match, considering Madman Fulton's in here. um, but yeah, delivering, delivering enough for a main event. Josh Alexander fairly handily putting away Madman Fulton. Basically, uh, Ace Austin, of course, at ringside for Madman Fulton, and of course with the title shot briefcase for the world title, attempts to interfere. Mike Bailey comes out, prevents that from happening, which in turn distracts Madman Fulton from, the match and getting attacked from Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander eventually tapping out Madman Fulton pretty handily. So, segment rating of 45, a further step in Josh Alexander's dominance, if you will. Um, so, as Josh Alexander and Mike Bailey eventually deal with Madman Fulton and Ace Austin, they eventually beg off, but that brings out, while Josh Alexander is celebrating, Lance Archer coming out to the stage and basically just ending the show with a stare down. Lance Archer winning the world title shot at Victory Road. So him just basically just coming out, pointing to Josh Alexander, motioning for the title, saying everybody dies, what have you. Lance Archer, I have this as a challenge, but the match was already set. So basically, this is just Lance Archer coming out to end the show and reminding Josh, who he has to face at Victory Road. Segment rating of 46. So we get an overall of 45, which I think is the same as last week. So we are holding steady. We had some weak segments at the beginning, but we made up for them in matches. So Will Hobbs versus Mance Warner 41, Michael Bennett and Dalton Castle 51, Rosemary versus Viper 42, Josh Alexander Fulton the 45. So yeah, Bennett and Dalton Castle delivering. Figured they would, but I guess they kind of over delivered. But yeah, onward to Victory Road. We have Alexander versus Lance Archer for the world title. We have Rosemary versus Tenille for the Knockouts title. We have the mixed team match of Gresham and Grace versus Sue Young and Rich Swann. We have, even though still technically not official, but we have Swerve possibly defending against Will Hobbs. Next week, we have the Wolves defending the tag titles against the new Gospel of Violence. Next week we have a 3-on-3, Jake Something, Heath and Rhino versus Eric Young, Damien O'Connor, and Lance Archer. We have W. Morrissey and Steve Macklin next week. We may possibly have another six-person tag, maybe between Rosemary and the Inspiration between that against Tenille and the BFFs. We'll see. So yeah, things are starting to come together, and we are holding steady with our numbers, so that is good. And yeah, week 1 of September. So we got, I think, 2 weeks. I think Victory Road's week 3, so we got 2 weeks of TV left. till Victory Road, and then I believe 2 more weeks after that till Bound for Glory. So Bound for Glory's, gonna have to come together fast. So we'll see how that works out. Till then, thanks for watching. And I'm gonna go take care of my cat because she is freaking out right now.